Hello and welcome to CabChat, episode 288 of the longest running taxi podcast in the world. And as you can see, I haven't had a shave this morning. I've been a bit lazy. But one thing we've noticed from the statistics on YouTube is that the vast majority of you that are watching our videos are not subscribed. And we need you to subscribe so we can get monetized, not because we want to earn loads of money. We just want to be we just want CabChat to be self-sustaining, so literally pay for itself. And with the number of views that we're getting, it wouldn't quite pay for itself. But it'd go a long way towards paying the costs of what it costs every month to do this show. Because we want to upgrade our Riverside account so that we can live stream as well, which is going to cost us an extra £10 a month. That, combined with the Captivate account that we've got for the audio podcast, which the numbers on the audio podcast are rising back up quite dramatically at the moment, which is all good. That just alone comes to £60 a month for them too, without web hosting and other bits and pieces. If you could subscribe, drive our numbers up to over 1,000, it would be absolutely great.
Well, and also share it around with other cab drivers. If there's a topic that you think, you know what, I like that topic, we want to share this with some friends and all get talking about it.
Yep.
Share it around. That also really, really helps.
Exactly. And, sharing is caring. And it shows you care about us and you want us to continue. We're getting quite a few views per month, actually, for the number of subscribers we've got. But if we can hit that magic 1,000, we've met every other criteria. We're well over the 4,000 watch hours by a long, long way. Everything else we've met the criteria for. We just haven't met the criteria for the 1,000 subscribers. So anyway, into the episode. I'm Jamie the Cabbie, and he is... And what are we going to be talking about today, Tom?
That thing that no one knows anything about in the cab trade, that is cab etiquette.
Are you saying that cab drivers have lost cab etiquette these days?
I don't know. It makes you wonder, with less drivers, does it make etiquette better or worse?
I personally think, over my time as a taxi driver, I think the etiquette is worse today than what it was when I first started. I mean, you've always had those drivers that never really complied with the etiquette, what I would call the scoundrels, They sort of, they didn't bother them. They was just out for themselves and didn't care whether they picked up close to a taxi rank with a load of cabs on and things like that. But in general, the vast majority of drivers, when I got my badge, were aware of etiquette, and they would ask other drivers that were more experienced, what's the rules with me picking up? How far away from a taxi rank should I be before I pick a passenger up, and things like that? And what's the rules on if you're going down the road and a cab lets you out and he's got his light on? What happens then? And all sorts of things, So. But nowadays, you don't tend to get anyone ask you things like that. And
I wonder if it's just because, as drivers, we are a little bit more siloed and less asking and just speaking with cab drivers on a day-to-day basis. Maybe aircon has ruined it because we've all got our windows up, so we're not hanging out the window talking with each other.
I think there's that. And also, a lot of the places where cab drivers used to stop and eat, they've all disappeared. And it brings me on to another quick point, the shelters. If you don't use the shelters, they will disappear. They will close down because they won't be a viable option for the shelter keepers. So shelter keepers. So please use the shelters. Most of them provide very, very good food at very, very good value for money.
Well, also as well, where else are you going to be able to get like a quick bacon sandwich, like in London, like those kind of grab and go stuff, but with real ingredients? I know drivers can go to Pret, but are you going to pay through the nose for it for Pret? And it's just going to be more ultra processed than what it needs to be anyway. So it's really difficult to think about a place where you can get like real hot food that's made.
I think the only thing that lets the shelters down is the lack of toilet facilities at the shelters. You know, a lot of the shelter keepers have got arrangements with businesses close by where you can use a toilet, but some of them haven't, and that is a real letdown. I mean, the chapel shelter's great because it's got the public toilets, which is probably one of the only public toilets that's still left open in London at the
Yeah.
moment, just along the road, which is great, and they're always very, very clean, those public toilets as well. But the others, like the Temple, there's nothing around there really where you can use a toilet facility. Um, you know, Grosvenor Gardens, you know, Sue's got an arrangement with the Goring Hotel, which they allow cab drivers to go and use the toilet in the Goring Hotel. And other shelters have got similar sort of arrangements with close by businesses. But it'd be great if the authorities said, oh, hang on, we've got a load of cab drivers eating here. It might be good to put one of those public toilets in there, you know, one of those little things. But you're not even seeing those being installed around London anymore. I mean, you used to have the piss urinal down in the Strand that used to come up out of the ground, and that don't exist anymore, I don't think. I think that's been removed. They're quite popular all over Europe.
Yeah, true. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was, I think, well, there was a sad, I don't know if you heard the story of the guy who got crushed by one of those.
No, I didn't know.
It was about, probably 2-3 years ago, just a guy who sort of, like an engineer for him who obviously like cleans and whatever, just the whole thing just fell on him. I mean, that's a way to go. I mean, that's outrageous really, but yeah. So now I think differently whenever I go near those. I think, oh gosh, like yeah.
Yeah. But getting back to etiquette, so right, you did a survey with regards to etiquette in the taxi trade.
Yeah, so when I was on the Whiz
I-
End podcast, I wanted to just kind of do it and just like,
Yeah.
where is it? Because I guess there's lots of different bits of etiquette, right? There's etiquette of like, what's the right thing to do when you've got a passenger on board? In terms of being a professional driver, like there's that element of etiquette, like getting out and helping people with luggage and opening the doors and stuff like that. That kind of obliging, helping people out kind of service. Then, of course, there's the element of etiquette, which is like amongst ourselves with other drivers. The queuing, how close to a rank can you pick up, what happens in certain edge cases and that. And the idea of this survey I made was kind of like really testing some of those edge cases. It's really difficult in text form to come up with a conclusive answer because some of these are, of course, it's always circumstantial, right? How far away from the rank you are, what kind of rank is it, how difficult is it for the customer to even get to the rank if you're on the other side of the road, is there a central reservation, etc. But just wanted to kind of encourage it because sometimes there's like am I in the wrong? Should I take the job? Did I pull out a little bit too close to that cab coming up the road? And then maybe I should just turn off just to be safe because I don't want to cause an argument or, but maybe we could just start at basic etiquette 101 in case there's any knowledge students listening who just to set the bar straight, like stuff that we know to be 100% true and is gospel within the cab trade. Let's start there.
Right. So what's number one on the list?
Well, I haven't actually made like a list of what's the order like.
Right, so
the commandments, but we can just do it. We can free ball it right now.
Right,
yeah.
So let's kick it off. Right. So taxi rank. So when there's cabs on a taxi rank, what is the rules with regards to picking up a passenger that hails you close to the taxi rank? When I got my badge, they used to say 75 yards from the taxi rank. I'm no good at working out yards. So as far as I was concerned, 75 yards was if the taxi rank was out of my sight, then I was free to pick someone up. If I could see the taxi rank quite clearly and if I could see the driver's face in the front of the cab, no,
Yeah.
it's a no, really,
If I'm approaching from behind, I can't see his face.
Yeah,
No,
well, no. But no, if I can read his license plate, then I shouldn't be picking up because that is about 75 yards. If you can read their number plate, you shouldn't be picking up close to the taxi rank. So that's the basic of all taxi etiquette.
But that being said, there's also there's instances so I learned from this poll, for instance, if you're going along Piccadilly and you can see the cabs opposite. So let's say you're heading towards Piccadilly Circus, you've just gone past the Ritz, and then you've got the cabs outside of Fortnum and Mason that rank there. It's about a 2-3 cab rank. Sometimes it overranks. where people lie if someone hails you down from the Royal Academy? Because it's kind of just about opposite the road.
You pick them up because the cabs sitting on Fortnum and Masons cannot do a U-turn to pick them up anyway.
Yeah, 70% of the respondents to the survey said the job is mine, that's my side of the street. 30% of people said they should be instructed to the rank unless they are disabled or can't get to the rank.
I would be of the opinion that, with the majority there, because, the reason for having a taxi rank and the turning circle, as certain people within the trade keep sort of going on about the turning circle, is that a taxi can do a U-turn. Now, you can't do a U-turn on Piccadilly there at that location. So if a cab's going eastbound along Piccadilly and someone shows out outside the Royal Academy, then it's his job, not the cab driver on the rank.
But then there's points where it gets a bit closer. So that same token, let's say you're picking up opposite the RAC. So you're heading eastbound along Pall Mall. And there's a couple of cabs at the RAC there. I think because the road isn't like 2 lanes wide as it is on Piccadilly,
I think
it looks a bit closer, doesn't it?
In that case, I would stop, tell the passengers that there's a rank across the road. If they said, okay, fine, no problem, thank you, driver, and went to walk across the road, that's fine. If they objected to actually walking across the road, which some people do.
Yeah. Some people don't like the idea of being told where to go, or they might have mobility issues as well.
Yeah, exactly. Then I think I'm probably be inclined to pick them up and then just say to the driver as you're going past, sorry, mate, but they weren't prepared to walk across to you. And if he's made no attempt to come across to them, then yeah, I think that's a valid case for picking them up.
The other thing you can sometimes do is if the driver's not asleep at the rank, is that you can try and get their attention. And say, look, there's this job here.
Yeah.
And if they light up and go, oh yeah, and they pull off and then start to engage the U-turn, then cool,
just move on.
Move on. There's certain ones where you definitely can do that.
So it's all about a bit of give and take and a bit of cooperation amongst drivers. We're all doing the same job. We're all in the same trade, although we're all competing with each other because essentially we're all self-employed individual freelance taxi drivers. You've got to have some sort of etiquette to go with that, whereby you think of your colleagues within the same trade as you, and rather than just thinking of yourself all the time.
Well, just to sort of butt in there, but like I read the really good book by William Hanson, who's the that sort of real posh like camp dude.
He's great, isn't he?
I love it.
He's fantastic,
and the book is fantastic. So it outlines why etiquette is so important, because some people are like, well, it's just posh stuff that you posh people do at dinner parties about picking up certain cutlery and how you pass the wine and stuff.
How you eat. I remember watching one where he's talking about how do you eat peas.
Yeah.
And you don't stab them. You push them onto the edge of your fork.
Yeah, no, yes, you do pierce them. Yeah, you pierce them on. Yeah,
yeah, but they don't sort of stay that way. No, just scoop them all up. Use a spoon if necessary. That's what the working class ways of doing it.
But the whole idea behind it is that it's about, we're in a cooperative society. How can you do stuff in a way that doesn't upset your fellow human being? That we're all in this together, that they have as equal chance as you, that they have as pleasant experience as you, because some of these might extend to, bad dinner habits. Like the reason why you don't put elbows on a dinner table is because once upon a time, they would have been like a long bench type thing. If you think about, maybe like Last Supper or something like that would be balanced on kind of this trestle table. So if you put your elbows on the table, there's a high likelihood that you could put your weight on it and the whole thing would tip over and food would go flying everywhere, in which case you wouldn't be popular with people. So it's just a rule that then stuck around. And some of these are a bit more important though than the cab trade. So we know that taxis ranking, that's kind of...
You shouldn't really pick up within 75 yards, which is about 50 metres.
So what are some other ones that are kind of very obvious, like if, the 10 commandments, shall we say?
Right, so another one is if you're waiting to come out of a side street and a taxi with his light lets you out, and then as you're driving along the road, a passenger shows out, that's not your job. That's his job because he's allowed you to go out. In the case of where most taxi drivers would let me out, I would always wave them back past me again. then there's no arguments as over who the next job belongs to. So I always try to wave them past if possible, and if not, as I drive past the passenger that's trying to hail me, I would put my arm out the window and point. There's a job over there, mate. It's yours.
Yeah. Or turn off a side street is something else I sometimes do.
Yeah.
Just turn off the next side street.
Just turn off the next side street. Just, it's not worth it. We all make mistakes. And, you might be sitting at a junction waiting to pull out, a cab with his light on lets you out, and you've been driving around for an hour and haven't had a job for ages, and then someone shows out, you just automatically sort of pull in, pick them up, and think, oh, shit. And the driver pulls up, oh, what are you doing, mate? Oh, that was my job. Just be honest and say, mate, I'm really sorry. I just made a mistake. We all make mistakes. If the passenger's willing to get in your cab, I'm quite willing for her to jump out and get in your cab, or him or her or whatever. But just be honest. Don't start arguing with each other in the middle of the street, because that's not a good image to portray to the travelling public.
Other commandments, I would say, obviously, no overtaking. Don't overtake a cab. If you're both looking for a job, you don't overtake the cab driver unless you are going to be turning off at some point, like quite quickly. But there's a bit of ambiguity related to that, the whole Piccadilly right-laners and stuff.
Unless you're on a local at the airport.
You've got to get back.
Who you want?
Yeah, actually, I need that clarifying. How does it work at the airport if you're on a local and you need to come back?
You can always tell the drivers that are late getting back on a local. They're the ones that are hammering it to get back. And
like sweating.
Just let them go, because if they're sweating that much, the likelihood is they may not even get on the rank anyway. So they might be just too late and be turned.
And then if they do get on the rank, is it a case of like, oh, cheers, chaps, for letting me through? Do you want to go in front of me or whatever? All this, it's just you're in now.
You're in there now. Just let them go. It's. That's my view on it. Anyway, if they've struggled that much to get back, just let them be. Yeah,
because I've always wondered. It's difficult to know are you returning from a local, or if you just come from the feeder park. I guess when you come from the feeder park, it seems just a bit more sort of calmer and smoother, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you're just following each other down to the rank and go on the rank. Whereas someone comes tearing down the spur road and cuts in front of everybody and sees a space on Terminal 2 and shoots in there and then just makes it in time. But I think this is slightly different. So just let them be, let them carry on.
Cool. So that's another commandment. Whatever else. The stuff that's less related to about searching for jobs and just more about helping your fellow cab driver out. So one which came up quite a bit on a survey, and when I've put it on Twitter before, which I don't think comes up enough, is that if you're looking for a job and you see a cab driver that's got a job on board, you always give way to that driver.
Yeah.
Always just let them being able to get around and do their job and let them out of the side road. Priority is given to the cab that's got a job on.
Yeah, 100%. And that is one rule that doesn't seem to be adhered to these days. And that's one of the things that makes me say that there's less etiquette in the cab trade these days to when I first got my badge. Because of that one particular thing. You can be sitting at a junction with a passenger in the back with your light off, and you can see cabs coming along with their lights on, and they just don't let you out.
Yeah, I think that's probably the one that I would love to see revert. Because it always happens, doesn't it? You see 3 cabs come past you with their lights on, and then it's the Uber driver that lets you out.
Yeah. Everyone's having a pop at Uber drivers, and the Uber driver flashes you up and waves to you. And I always think, I don't know with yourself, when an Uber driver like that lets me out, I always think, I wonder whether he's doing the knowledge.
Or I wonder if he's just doing it so he can quickly glance at the sat nav and make sure everything's going okay. It's like having an extra chance at the red light,
Listen, that's the cynic in you. I'm being sort of
I'm too much of a pessimist,
passionate, and thinking maybe they're doing the knowledge. That's why they're letting cab drivers out.
Yeah, could be. Yeah,
but you're the cynic saying maybe he's just glancing at the sat nav again.
That's quite an important one, though, I think, being able to let cab drivers out. I mean, what else is there? There's quite a few related to etiquette. I mean, what's the actual just must do?
Well, when I got my license, if you saw a cab broken down at the side of the road, yeah, you would stop.
I did actually. I was just going back and looking up some stuff about Stanley Roth, and that documentary is a good one on YouTube called Sherbet Dab. It's got loads of cab drivers in it of varying different ages of when they got their badges, and that's kind of one of the things he said. He goes, "Yeah, if there was always a cab driver broken down, it was just you would stop and just go, all right, mate, how's it going? Do you need some help? Whatever."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you always do that. I've just got an article up on Taxi Point, do's and don'ts for London taxi drivers.
Yes, yeah.
I sounded like Hanson then, didn't I?
Yeah, let's just continue before we sort of dive into the weeds of kind of like edge cases and examples, just other ones that are really like clear cut, you must and do not do.
Clear cut. One of the things that a lot of drivers are not aware of, if you're on somewhere like King's Cross, now King's Cross is made up of multiple sections of rank, yeah? And what a lot of drivers are not aware is that each of those portions of the rank is considered to be a rank in its own right, even though it's a feed for the main rank, the cage as everybody calls it. So if you're on the point of one of those sections and a passenger approaches you, then you can take that passenger.
But this is related to it. Well, I say but. I mean, that is correct.
Yep. Personally, if I'm at the second section of it, I normally always tell the passenger to go to the front of the rank. Now, it'd be a different case if I was right at the very back, because they're not going to walk all the way down the road. Yeah.
Well, from where the drop-off is at King's Cross, you tell them to go to the front.
Yeah.
That's quite a way.
Well, it's not really. It's just across the road.
Yeah, but you're sort of navigating over a road. You've got to go through pavements, and then they've then got to go like in the queue at the rank. Really.
By the same token, the pavement there is sloped upwards, and the chances are they're going to open my door and smash it against the curb.
That's the real reason.
So that's the real reason. Yeah.
So the reason why I said but is that I do hate it because people play that rule. That's correct. Obviously, where the ranks split, and it depends on some ranks actually, because there's a general consensus online that Liverpool Street, for example, doesn't follow that rule.
No, but then you're sitting directly opposite those that are on the point of the rank, and it's literally the cab on the point's there, and you're sitting here.
But all the other ranks it works on, say Sloane Square, all those corners, each of those is the start of a new rank. But the important bit is to actually move up.
Yes.
Like, I think that's one of those like must-do things.
Whereas you get a lot of drivers that hang back on purpose.
Yes.
Just to
especially on that one of King's Cross, like you can see where the markings is. And I think that's kind of a responsibility when you do get out to work out how many cabs or where do the cabs go on the ranks before you kind of, well, the more times you go through the rank, the more you'll see. But it is sort of your duty to go, right, I know there's that many cabs up ahead there. Even if you can't see the rank ahead, if you see there's like 4 cabs in front of you that have gone off, you should be able to mentally work out, okay, 4 cabs can fit in that next bit. Like that used to happen at City Airport when you used to go behind the camera. I think it said cabs go in chunks of 4 to save you sort of advancing and then overranking the next bit. But yeah, otherwise people will hang back and in the hope that, someone might come over to me, It's a bit different if there's clearly someone sort of coming up to you. Like if they're coming up to you and there's a huge gap in front, there's not much you can do about that.
No, that's right.
But at least let the driver behind you know, there's quite a bit of room around the front, go around me sort of thing,
But okay, so one of the bones of contention within the cab trade, pop-up ranks.
Yeah, so then that's the other thing. Do pop-up ranks, is that then divided by 0? Does that then remove the rule entirely?
Now, a lot of cab drivers, myself included, are of the opinion that a pop-up rank isn't a rank. It's just a group of taxi drivers that's decided to stop there with their lights on, basically illegally applying for hire. So if a job was to show out just in front of their pop-up rank, should I take it or not? Now, my opinion is, yes, I should. In reality, do I? If it was just 20 yards in front of the taxi rank or the pop-up rank, probably not. I probably wouldn't. And the reason I wouldn't, I can't be asked with a conflict.
Mm.
Yeah. And also, I drive quite a recognisable cab with quite a recognisable number plate on it. And I don't want people having a pop at me. So, to be honest with you, I'd rather just drive past them. But in reality, the reality of it is that, you know, if someone shows out and tries to hail a taxi 20 yards in front of the rank and a cab's cruising, it's his job. It is his job legally and morally, because that rank shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I think it just depends. For me, it's kind of like the sentiment of it. Like, what's happening on the streets currently? Like, if it's a January and it's a pop-up rank with a lot of people on it, like a lot of cab drivers that are really on it, and I sort of sweep by, I, would be like, well, hold on a minute here. Like, that is a bit of a different circumstance. But for the most part, if it's like one or two that are just kind of popping up, I would see it as no different as I'm driving that way. You would be driving that way, hailing on the street, and that person just happens to hail me down.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just what happens is. That's probably my way of looking at it. Where was I going to go on this one? No, carry on. It will come back to me. There's a lot. It all fires off. I love thinking about these scenarios. I tell you why. It's because I'm a proper stickler for like the rules.
Rules. Yeah.
But not because I like the rules per se. It's just I like to know where the edge cases are.
Yeah.
So if you open up a board game, it's like, right, you can have 10 pieces. And it's like, yeah, but can I have 11 and then discard 1 to get me down to 10, like to maximize it. But anyway, yeah.
I mean, one of the places that's a point in question with regards to a pop-up rank is the Strand Palace Hotel.
Yeah.
The taxi rank's around the corner and no one uses it anymore. They all rank up in the Strand outside the front door. And the taxi rank around by the side door now tends to be used as a toilet stop rank, because the Strand Palace are quite, they're not bothered about you using their toilets in there. So they all pull up there, park on there, go and use the toilets, and maybe get themselves a cup of coffee and then come back to the cab. Whereas those that are looking for a job tend to sit in their little pop-up rank, their free cab pop-up rank on the Strand there. So, what's the thing in that sort of scenario if a job shows out?
Because that's quite annoying. I tell you what, that's quite annoying. That's very similar to the sort of the Parade Street example. So Parade Street is very much known by all the unions, Westminster Council. Don't do it, you're going to get a fine. But people are still going for it, right? And it's clearly causing a nuisance. The Strand is a real nuisance because that really slows up traffic. Which then comes back to this idea of etiquette. And it's not an etiquette amongst ourselves. It's an etiquette in that you're
road users.
You're inconveniencing other road users, exactly. The back door of Harrods, for instance. So even though the back door of Harrods is a bit of a difficult one, well, not a difficult one, but there's about space for 6 cabs on the actual rank on the back door. But get into it, if there's 6 cabs on there and you overrank down the street, people find little different pockets and stuff, including going sort of into the beginning of Walton Street or whatever it is at that point. Now, I've had it where I've come round like Hands Road and there's cabs sort of down in Walton Street and someone comes up and hails me down. Well, I think the same rule applies to the pop-up rank because the rank hasn't even started at that point.
No, that's right.
I'm nowhere near the actual rank. Just because there's 3 or 4 cabs going down Walton Street, you're not actually on the rank and they've come to me. So I'm not, and the same token as well is that there's a give way line on the Walton Street there, but not if you come from Hands Road. So therefore, I don't care if there's 4 or 5 cabs ranking down at, well, I do care. Again, it comes back to the sentiment of it, doesn't it? If it's clearly really shit on the street, am I really going to want to inconvenience those other drivers? Probably not. They're playing.
When you say that, there is the argument, if it's really clearly shit on the street, those making a pop-up rank are stealing a job from you.
Yeah.
And, it gets into a very sort of tangled, twisted ideology of what is right and what is wrong. Because my view is, if they're sitting there, that if they weren't there, that would have been my job. And they're not supposed to be there. Yeah? So that person trying to hail a cab, that would have been my job if I was cruising past. But because they're there, they've stopped me from getting that job. So who's right and who's wrong? You
So
know?
similar sentiment to this, and it's going to link to the next one of someone stopping you getting a job, is dropping off in ranks. Circumstantial again, because it depends
Yeah.
on the size of the rank and how
Yeah.
busy that rank is.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that takes a little bit of experience to work out how popular is a rank, what's the likelihood of someone coming along. Because some of the hotel ranks, because of the speed they move or, how big they might be, you've got plenty of space to do it. But my general rule is always like, you try it, you don't want to stop on the rank. Never. If you can, like Harrods, for example, Harrods front door in the height of summer, you get blokes who drop off at the back of the rank. I've done it. I'm sure many people have done it.
Yeah, I have, and only when I can see ahead and see there's no way I can drop off in front of the rank, because don't forget you've got the crossing there and the zigzags, which if you fall foul of the zigzags, that's a potential 3 points on your license.
Yeah.
So, in my view, I know it's going to inconvenience the driver on the rank behind me for literally probably 30 seconds to a minute, but I don't want to get 3 points on my license by moving towards the front and finding there's no space and stopping on the zigzag.
Well, the front, you can drop off at the front door, okay, because the zigzags don't start until a bit later on. It's more the back. If you drop behind the back of the rank, there's definitely zigzags there.
Yeah, but sometimes there's so many people dropping off there that you cannot get anywhere near it, and you end up having to go across the crossing and up towards the next door, where the next strange portion of taxi rank is,
which is a feeder for the side.
Yeah, which
it doesn't use as a feeder.
Yeah, you can't see around the corner from there. So it's sort of, you end up dropping off all the way down there, which is not what the customer wants. They want to go in the front door.
The other reason for this as well is that the idea is that if the rank is empty, it's kind of a cheeky little game where you can drop off at the back of the rank, and then it allows you to get straight onto the rank.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as there's no other cabs trying to get on the rank.
Yeah, you've got
someone else trying to get on the rank, I'd wave them around me.
Yes, well, but also as well, you don't know quickly how long that passenger might be to pay. It all comes back to bite yourself in the arse, really, because if the passenger takes a while to pay, the car doesn't go through or whatever, then you might all of a sudden, like 5, 6 cabs might come out of nowhere or want to get on that rank, and you're public enemy number one. So I always obviously have a good check in the mirrors, look at the person, are they like to pay? If I really want it to happen, then I'll make sure that they pay me before I get to the drop off. And I'm like, cool, you can pay me, like, I've stopped the meter now. And then that way it's a case of drop and go,
Yeah.
But that being said, it doesn't.
Passengers that are late for their trains quite often, and just say, all right, you're going to lose 20 or 40p, but if it keeps them happy and they're going to catch their train, then just stop the meter and let them pay.
That's a nice etiquette thing to do for them, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a bit of goodwill, and PR.
Well, it comes back the other way as well. The amount of times passengers have more than overpaid for you, so for you to be able to stop it early and go, you know what? Yeah. I mean, related to that dropping off from the rank one, I was going to put a tweet out the other day from it saying that there's a special portion in hell for any driver that drops Waterloo steps out the front. And as you go out, not just dropping Waterloo steps, but as you go round to how you exit, 'cause you have to do like a U-turn to exit out, don't you? When you do that U-turn, there's a bit there where the two pavements are either side of the cab. And you get drivers who just drop there as a first port of call. It's like, no, that's like, don't. Because then the same thing happens. It takes ages for a passenger to get out. You get 2, 3 cabs behind that want to get off and then go hunting on the streets. And then that cab's in front. Disrupts the whole order and flow.
The problem with Waterloo is that's effectively the taxi rank where the drop-off is at the moment. So it was Waterloo you was talking about, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the steps out the front.
Oh, the steps, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking you're talking about
where you can go round, start the U-turn, and where that crossing kind of is there, yeah.
I think it's all a bit of,
This blocks other drivers. Again, that's the overarching principle here, is don't upset other drivers, allow them to go around unperturbed.
I think the thing is, use common sense and be considerate towards other drivers. And I think that's what a lot of taxi trade etiquette is. Being considerate and using your common sense. If you would be offended by what another driver would do, don't do that yourself.
And if it does happen, just wave them past. You know, if you do screw them up and then you drive off and there's 3 of you will drive off and you've held the 2 behind, just pull over, just stick your arm out and just go, yeah, on you go.
Yeah.
And then they'll appreciate it, and it'll give them a nice smile to their day and go, you know what? I've restored faith in humanity that cab drivers are all right people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking through the list on Taxi Point.
Here's some other good ones, right? So I'll get your opinion on this. You are the second taxi in a 2-cab job. Your customers hailed you down. There's 8 people, 4 get in 1 cab in front and 1 get into your cab. So you're the second cab. Do you always try to follow the taxi in front, no matter what route they decide to take? Or if the driver is taking what I know to be a slow route, I'll crack on with my own route.
Right. So I've had this happen on numerous occasions. Yeah. So 2-cab job. Now, why is it when you are the second cab of a 2-cab job, the first cab decides he's going to drive like Michael Schumacher and try to lose you at every opportunity? Now, if he does that and he is going a long route, I'll just go whichever way I want. And if that shows him up at the end of the journey, so be it. It's his undoing because he's the one that's taken off like a lunatic with no consideration for me, so why should I have any consideration for him? You know, treat people as you'd like to be treated yourself. If he takes a slightly longer route, you know, we've all done it before. You make an instant judgment as to which route you're going to take, but he's being considerate to make sure that I stay behind him. I will just follow him. Just follow him. Don't say a word to the customer about it. Just follow the cab in front. Yeah. If he's taking a route that I know to be blatantly the wrong route, i.e. he's doing it in order to get more money out of the passenger, I ain't following him. I'm going to go the route that I feel is best for myself and the passenger in the back of the cab.
And that's where we slightly differ then. I've got a slightly different view on this.
Go on.
So in relation to your second one there, I understand about them shooting off. I'll always try to keep the cab in front. But if they shoot off and it's too dangerous and I lose them, I'm not going to try and I'm just going to just continue on with the route I think they're going to be going on, providing that it's a good route. I won't really try and deviate from the cab in front route because if it's a party of people, say 8 of you, it's good to stick them together because if you don't agree necessarily or you don't know where the exact entrance they want to be dropped off, let's just say they get in and say Covent Garden, where in Covent Garden are they being dropped? Because then they've then got to get people back together. En route, the cab in front might be the kind of lead instigator of their party, and they might say, "Oh, actually, can we stop off at a shop en route or whatever?" Those kind of sort of things. So you might want to follow that cab for that basis. And then, mainly, but for the main reason, it's just that I can be certain that they all stick together at the end. And also the meter is the same on the other end. I think it's a little bit, it could be difficult if the meter is at a different price to the other cab.
Yeah. I mean, I do try to stick with the cab in front. But as I say, if he shoots off like a lunatic,
but most times it is the cab in front will just do. It very rarely happens because it's there's only 1 or 2 ways of doing a route. So it's always going to be right.
The other thing is when you're a cab driver in London and a passenger jumps in your taxi and asks to be taken somewhere, you're always alert as such because you're thinking of, I'll go this way, I'll go that way. Oh, hang on, the traffic's a bit bad this way. How can I get around that? And whereas if you're just following the cab in front, it makes life so much easier because you ain't got to think. You just literally sit there thinking, if he goes the wrong way, it seems it's his fault. He's
sometimes
the one
as well.
him,
Sometimes you do it and you learn a thing. You think, oh, actually, that's quite a good route.
See what he's
done there. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was going a long way round, but he's used that street and that's cut the corner off there. And I didn't think of doing that. Yeah. But as I say, there are. I think it's on a case by case basis as such. But reading through a Taxi Points article on this, we've covered every single one of these points already.
I've got loads because every time I came up with a new one, because what I really wanted to get to was the real deep edge cases. I think we've covered the kind of the basics in terms of if you're a new driver, what do you do? Like how far, what happens, you know?
I mean, one that I haven't thought about because it's just something I do anyway is that's on the Taxi Point article is do always try to keep a clean cab and a tidy appearance.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, you do see some taxis driving around London and you think, that don't look like it's been washed for a year. Yeah, there's like mould growing out of places and potatoes have started growing out of
and they've still got a tax disc holder and we've not had tax discs for
for years and years and years. And like, and then you think, well, if it looks like that on the outside, what does it look like on the inside as well, you know? So, yeah, I think keeping a clean vehicle and, you know, you haven't got to wear a shirt and tie and a suit like Stanley does or did, or other drivers that I know do, you know, and they always look smart. But as long as you're clean, tidy, well presented, polite, courteous, and not rude to customers, that goes a long way. You know, the one cab driver that tries to rip someone off or is extremely rude to them or whatever, or refuses to take someone without a valid reason, that's potentially a customer lost, not just to that driver, but to all of us.
Mm.
And that's not very good etiquette.
And I think as well, your point, whenever I always like hear or see drivers who dress well, I think, God, I should dress better.
Yeah, I do. Sometimes, some days I go out and wear the shirt and everything, and you know, when I do a wedding, I've got a suit on. And then some days I just think.
But what that does, right, is that if you do happen to screw up on a route, because we all do, right, there's going to be a time when you make a judgment call and you think, oh, bloody hell, or something happens, right?
Just apologise to the customer.
Well, you can apologise, you can knock a bit of money off the fare, that shows it. But also, being well-dressed also demonstrates that if you are willing to be that well-dressed, you're not the sort of person who's going to, like, inadvertently rip someone off. So it's just having that. And there's other ones as well, like getting out to help passengers with the cases. And I feel like I need to, you know, those sort of things, I should just de facto get out of the cab more. Yeah. Because it is a good habit to get into and it just goes a very long way.
The only thing about with, you know, getting out of the cab more with the LEVC is with the TX4, you could keep the passenger door, luggage door locked all the time. And if you jumped out the front of the TX4 and pulled the keys out of the ignition, you could lock the driver's door as well, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Whilst leaving the rear doors open so you could assist the passenger in and out with their luggage and everything else. When you jump out the front of an LEVC, there's no facility to do that.
Yeah.
If someone comes along and decides to open your driver's door and nick your phone or whatever,
you've got to lock it, quickly unlock it to unlock the back doors, but then that also opens up your doors.
Exactly. So there's no way of locking the front doors. And, you know, there's been a few cases around the King's Cross area.
You can do it when you're inside of the cab driving, but you can't do it from the outside.
Not when you're outside. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to try something. There is something on the, but I think it only unlocks the driver's door and keeps the other three doors locked, which is a bit. You want it the other way around, where it'll unlock the passenger doors but leave the front two doors closed.
I've somehow had it. I don't know if it's an issue with my cab where, like,
it probably is.
I open my door, get out, and then someone's there with luggage. I'm like, yeah, I'll just open up the luggage compartment. And I open the door from that side. I'm like, no opening. I'm like, what?
Oh, no, it won't. Not until you unlock it with a key. Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm like, what? But I'm adamant, you know, that it's been open before to do it. But sometimes I just because of that problem, I just have the window undone and I just lean in and grab the handle. We need the
facility to be able to lock the driver's door to get out more and assist passengers more, because otherwise it's leaving anything of ours in front of the cab vulnerable to thieves.
Well, that was it, wasn't it? It was that there was a small spate of that happened once on the Edgware Road of people who were asking for a disabled ramp. You'd get out, help the disabled ramp, and of course someone would come on the other side and just go, you know what, I'm going to take a phone or whatever.
Yeah.
Money, good luck.
Anyway, we've been rattling on for quite a long time.
I think that's it. We've kind of given a good overview and etiquette
of cab trade etiquette.
if there's any blatantly big ones, I want really commandments for people coming into this trade.
And then what we'll do is we'll formulate a list, because the one person that used to have a list on his website was Stormcab.
That was
Stormcab.
essential. You know, I used to read that before getting a badge, and when I got out, and I'm like, what strip clubs pay? What does POB mean? And all that sort of stuff, you know?
So I see him the other day when I was driving one of my fairways, because he lives in Bexley Heath, and I see him at the T, videoing me as I came down the road. So don't know where that's going to end up.
On his bird watching size. There's the great tit.
Yeah. Oh, cheers, Tom. So maybe we'll formulate a list of cab trade etiquette rules and things that are you should do automatically, and we'll put it on the website. We'll put it on the CabChat website, and put it on the London Taxi website as a reference point for anybody that would like to reference it.
So yeah, great idea. So drop all your comments down below. Whilst you're there, hit subscribe, hit like, all the other stuff. Share it to a friend.
Yeah,
if you've got
any.
Yeah,
that's why Tom can't share it at all, because he hasn't got any friends.
I haven't got any friends. That's the problem.
Anyway, you've been listening to the Cab Chat. This has been episode 288. I've been Jamie the Cabbie, and he has been
I'm the taxi driver. We'll see you again next time.
We'll see you next time, and thanks for watching. Be lucky out there.
Bye-bye.